The courtroom erupted in laughter the moment the poor single father stepped forward in his worn-out shoes and faded shirt. Even the judge, seated high above in his polished wooden chair, allowed a crooked smile to slip across his face. It was supposed to be just another routine custody hearing on an ordinary bright morning. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust particles in the air as if the day itself was watching what would unfold. But no one in that room knew they were about to witness a truth so powerful it would shake the walls of that courthouse. Before we continue, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3, if you believe in kindness and second chances. Stories like this remind us that dignity doesn't wear expensive clothes. It lives in the heart. Haroon Malik stood alone at the defendant's table, clutching a small envelope that held everything he had left: pay slips, school certificates, and a faded photograph of his daughter, Meher. His hands were rough from years of factory work, his posture slightly bent from exhaustion, but his eyes held a quiet determination that refused to die. Across the courtroom sat his former-in-laws, dressed in crisp suits and gold watches, whispering confidently to their expensive lawyer. They believed today would be simple. They believed Haroon was too small to fight back. The case was about custody. After Haroon's wife passed away from a sudden illness 2 years earlier, he had raised 5-year-old Meher alone. He braided her hair every morning with clumsy fingers. He packed her lunch before sunrise and rushed from his night shift at the textile factory just to see her perform in school assemblies. He skipped meals so she could attend a better school. He sold his wedding ring to buy her asthma medication. But his late wife's wealthy parents claimed he was financially unstable and unfit to raise her. The judge, Qadir Hussain, adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the documents. When Haroon explained he could not afford a lawyer and would represent himself, a faint chuckle rippled through the room. The judge tapped his pen impatiently, clearly unimpressed by the father's trembling voice. To him, Haroon looked like another desperate man clinging to something he could not provide for. Outside, the morning sun shone brightly, but inside that courtroom, Haroon felt the cold weight of judgment pressing against him. He described waking at 4 a.m. every day, cooking simple meals, helping Meher with homework despite his limited education, and reading bedtime stories even when his eyes burned from fatigue. His voice cracked as he spoke of her nightmares after her mother died, how she would crawl into his arms and whisper that she was scared of losing him too. The opposing lawyer stood confidently, painting Haroon as irresponsible, pointing to his modest salary and small rented apartment as proof that Meher deserved better. He emphasized the grandparents, luxurious home, private tutors, and international travel opportunities. The courtroom murmured in agreement. Even Judge Qadir leaned back with a skeptical expression, as if the decision had already been made. But Haroon did something unexpected. He did not argue about money. He did not beg. Instead, he pulled out a folded stack of drawings from his envelope. They were simple crayon sketches. A stick figure, father and daughter holding hands under a bright yellow sun. At the top of one drawing, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "My Baba is my hero." The courtroom grew quieter. Haroon explained that Meher made those drawings every week at school. He spoke about how she refused to sleep anywhere else, how she saved half her lunch to share with him because she thought he forgot to eat. He described the way she laughed when he danced badly just to cheer her up. There was no performance in his words, only truth. Judge Qadir cleared his throat, but something had shifted in the room. The laughter had faded. Then came the moment that would change everything. Haroon requested permission to submit one final document. The judge looked mildly irritated but allowed it. A clerk handed the paper to Judge Qadir, who scanned it quickly at first, and then froze. His expression changed from amusement to confusion, then to disbelief. The document was not about wealth or employment. It was an official appointment letter issued quietly weeks earlier. Haroon Malik had been selected as a newly appointed justice of the Supreme Court. The courtroom gasped. Years ago, before life had hardened him, before factory shifts and financial struggles consumed his days, Haroon had been a brilliant law scholar. He had left a prestigious legal career when his wife fell ill, choosing to care for her full-time. After her passing, he declined high-profile positions to remain close to his daughter, working simpler jobs that allowed flexibility. Quietly, without publicity, he had continued contributing to legal reform committees and advising senior officials. His integrity and dedication had not gone unnoticed. The appointment had been finalized only days earlier, but Haroon had not revealed it. He wanted this case decided not by his title, but by the truth of his character as a father. Judge Kadir's face turned pale. The very man he had dismissed moments earlier would soon sit among the highest judicial authorities in the country. But Haroon's eyes showed no triumph, only calm. He spoke softly, explaining that titles and salaries do not define love, that he stood there not as a future Supreme Court justice, but as a father who refused to let his daughter think she was a burden passed between homes. He said he would gladly live in a small apartment forever if it meant Meher felt safe. The silence in the courtroom felt sacred. Judge Kadir straightened his posture, visibly humbled. In a measured voice he ruled in Haroon's favor, stating that the court recognized not only financial capability, but emotional stability, consistent care, and proven dedication. Custody would remain with the father. Outside, the daylight seemed brighter than before. Haroon stepped out of the courthouse into the warm afternoon sun, where Meher waited with her school bag. When she ran into his arms, the world around them faded. Reporters had already begun gathering, whispers spreading about the shocking revelation. But Haroon ignored them all. He lifted his daughter high, just as he had done countless times before, and she laughed without knowing that her father had just taught an entire courtroom the meaning of dignity. That day, Judge Kadir sat alone in his chambers long after everyone left. He reflected on how easily he had judged a man by his clothes and circumstances. He realized that justice begins not from the bench, but from humility. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and comment below. Your engagement helps stories like this reach more people who need to believe that goodness still exists. And before we close, I have a special request. Comment the words true strength if you believe that real power comes from love, not status. As the sun began to set that evening, Haroon tucked Meher into bed in their small apartment. The room was simple, the walls slightly worn, but it was filled with warmth. He sat beside her, brushing her hair gently, knowing that tomorrow he would step into a grand courtroom once more. Not as a struggling single father, but as Justice Haroon Malik of the Supreme Court. Yet in his heart, the greatest title he would ever carry was the one written in crayon, "My Baba is my hero."